Captain America has long been one of the most beloved heroes in Marvel's roster. He's also one of the oldest, having first appeared in Captain America Comics issue 1 published by Timely Comics prior to when the company became Marvel. Gotta love a golden age hero. But not everyone is as adoring of Cap as others. So today we're taking a look at this other opinion of the first Avenger, who isn't technically the first Avenger, with our list of the top 10 major things wrong with Captain America. And we promise we'll be as objective as possible in this one. So with that in mind, let's get to it. And at 10, he's easily manipulated. We've seen a handful of times in the comics where Captain America was manipulated by the opposing side. Most recently in 2017's Captain America Steve Rogers and the following Secret Empire story event, Hydra had chosen Steve to manipulate as their sleeper agent, thanks to a hefty dose of brainwashing. Here's the kicker though, compared to other Avengers members, he's probably the most corrupted out of the group of heroes. By outside influences, that is. For example, this happens in Tales of Suspense issue 67 from 1965, when Red Skull recruits Steve by brainwashing him with the intent of having him assassinate the Allies' top military leader. It also happens in Captain America issue 234 from 1979. The hero is brainwashed and ends up beating up a bunch of protesters, carrying around a new version of his shield that has flames and a Nazi symbol painted on it. Luckily, Cap always returns to his normal self, but clearly he's an easy target for manipulation compared to the other members on the Avengers team. And at number 9, his racist past. Cap has a history that stretches back to the Golden Age, and a time where Marvel Comics had yet to exist. As we mentioned earlier, they were being published under their predecessor Timely Comics, who would later evolve into the entertainment giant. Steve has always been a man out of time though, from another era. An old-fashioned one at that, to put it nicely. So it shouldn't be much of a surprise to take a look into Cap's history and pick up on some pretty racist behavior. Aside from going after the Germans and the Japanese thanks to the World War II propaganda in comics, Steve hasn't been the most politically correct when it comes to tossing around slurs about Chinese people or Native Americans. Now to be fair, Steve is far from being a character who would discriminate like that in his contemporary appearances, and his racist behavior is thanks to writing at that time. But it's still a little hard to shake when you've really analyzed those past panels, not including the World War II stuff. That kind of makes sense. Although, because of propaganda, there's a lot of harsh opinions after the war about Germans who weren't Nazis and Japanese people who weren't war criminals. Just saying. And at number 8, he's judgmental. Being someone who constantly stands on high moral ground is not easy, and while it's respectable that Steve sticks to his code of honor, sometimes that makes him a bit judgmental towards other characters in both the comics and the MCU. For example, take that scene in Captain America Winter Soldier, the opening Black Ops mission. When Black Widow is acting out on orders acquiring information that wasn't part of the plan, or at least the plan that Steve knew about, he gets up on his high horse and criticizes her and Nick Fury for doing so, claiming that those ulterior motives could have compromised their mission. Now, he does have a point. Not knowing what Natasha's additional task was could have left them open for possible holes in their plans, but considering that Fury decided it was better to leave Rogers in the dark because he would, in fact, get up on that high horse, really does say a lot about how other characters viewed him at that time. And at number 7, that time he ditched America. Steve Rogers is a man who stands up for many positive ideals, but perhaps one of his most defining features is the ideal his superhero persona is named after: his patriotism and devotion to his country, the US of A. The irony is though, once upon a time, Captain America actually ditched America when he felt he was representing a country he no longer recognized or trusted. While that's become an interesting staple in Captain America's character dynamics over the years, and it's something that defines him from the likes of other highly ethical heroes, like Superman, this instant in the mid-70s made some think twice about Cap's love for the red, white, and blue. In Captain America issue 180 from 1974, Steve became Nomad after the Marvel Universe took on their own version of the Watergate scandal. He felt as if he was a man without a country. Eventually, he reassumes the Cap mantle after deciding that he was a symbol of America ideals rather than its government. And at number 6, that time he tried drugs accidentally. During a story arc titled Streets of Poison that appeared in Captain America between issues 372 and 378, Cap became addicted to meth. The story begins when Cap is looking to help one of his tech employees with the meth addiction he acquired when trying to deal with the workload of stuff he had to do for the Avengers. Like, yikes, how bad is it at that compound? Anywho, Cap finds a rehab center for him and then decides to hunt down the drug dealers responsible. And when he confronts them at their meth lab, the place blows up. Cap inhales a lethal dose of meth in the process. Fueled by that meth, he goes on a bit of a rampage trying to blow up other meth labs, inhaling more meth in the process, and fighting his friends like Black Widow and Daredevil. Eventually he confesses to Hank Pym what has happened after having some serious hallucinations. And at number 5, Ultimate Cap. Let's talk about an alternate version of Steve Rogers. the one from the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now for starters, the Ultimate Comics, aka Earth 1610, differ from Earth 616 by reimagining many of the heroes that we love, like Captain America, playing with different perspectives on the classic superhero icons. While Steve was very much still a man out of time, the character, rather than being his usual empathetic fight for the little guy and the innocent self, Steve's ideals and values were very much pulled from the considerably less progressive perspectives of the times he hailed from. He was basically an old white racist and misogynistic dude in the body of a ripped superhero. He's aggressively nationalistic to boot, and it was quite unsettling to think that under slightly different circumstances, this is the kind of man that Steve Rogers could have become in the main Marvel continuity had his origins been slightly altered. And at number 4, Bucky Barnes. Clearly, Bucky Barnes is one of Steve's biggest weaknesses. While we could get into the whole history behind Bucky's death and reappearance in the comics, a character who was once long believed to be one of the only characters to remain dead in the medium, perhaps the most prominent depiction of the Stucky relationship is in the MCU. It's a huge plot point for Cap, and his devotion and loyalty to his best friend, the one thing from the past that he still has, is a narrative that has significant impact and consequences in the MCU. Steve refuses to give up on Bucky, essentially starting Civil War. He's willing to die for Bucky. His devotion to Bucky, despite all the horrible things the Winter Soldier has done, ruins his friendship with Tony Stark. Yet despite all of that, despite all of the things that he would do for Bucky and put on the line, what we get from the two of them at the end of Avengers Endgame was baffling to most. Spoilers for Endgame. Heads up. Skip ahead 10 seconds if you do not want to hear this, okay? Good. In the end, Steve doesn't even have the proper closure with Bucky that we all wanted. And we're not talking about giving the Captain America mantle to Sam instead, we're just talking about closure in general. Dude would have died for his best pal, yet he can't even say goodbye? Come on, Steve. Spoilers out. And at number 3, he's killed. Every superhero who's originated in the Golden Age has at least once or twice caused the death of someone. While most of the heroes who fall into this category have been developed further over the years and have stuck to the code of not killing, Steve, once upon a time had his day as a murderer too. Now, to be fair, we're not counting the enemy forces he had to face during World War II. That was an unavoidable tragedy as per the time. Instead, we're talking about relatively non-threatening individuals and lowly criminals. Specifically, a group he encounters in Captain America Comics issue 3 from 1941, where Cap takes on Red Skull in order to save Bucky. Or at least that's the story on the cover. There's another story in that issue titled The Queer Case of the Murdering Butterfly and the Ancient Mummies. What a title. In which Steve takes out a henchman by the name of Lenny by impaling him with a dinosaur bone while shouting, "You asked for it, brother." It's not confirmed if he died, but based on where that bone landed, I think it's a pretty safe bet to guess that yes, he did in fact die. Butterfly, the criminal mentioned in the story's title, also dies in the issue, which we do see on panel when he gets hit by Cap's shield and his neck breaks. Both not a good way to go. In at number 2, Civil War. Whether you're looking at the comics or the MCU, it's no debate that Captain America is largely to blame for the events of Civil War, both the story event in the comics and the event in his third solo title film. Let's look at the comics though. Civil War's main premise follows the US government passing something called the Superhero Registration Act, in which it designates that superpowered individuals must act under official regulation. Cap opposes it, and those who support it, specifically Iron Man. Iron Man and his gang grow increasingly authoritarian throughout the storyline, and the whole thing explores the idea of freedom versus security. Now, as you know, Cap in the comics has had some major history with dealing with the US government and what it stands for, as we noted in our previous number concerning Nomad. But starting a whole super-powered civil war over the issue is one of the least responsible actions he's ever been a part of. It's reckless, and it also screws around with a lot of the other heroes in the process, like Spider-Man, whose life is left in shambles afterwards, his identity revealed, Aunt May almost killed in an assassination attempt on his life, and he gets sued by J. Jonah Jameson. Cap would eventually turn himself in and surrender at the end of the storyline, and is imprisoned because of it. And that brings us to our final point, in at number 1, he's hypocritical. Despite his code of honor and the ideals of freedom that he fought for during Civil War, Cap has done some pretty hypocritical stuff over the years. After Civil War, we got to see that firsthand in Avengers vs. X-Men, in which Cap opposes the mutants when the Phoenix Force, the cosmic entity of rebirth and death, makes a return and finds a host in the form of Hope Summers, Hope being the daughter of X-Men leader Cyclops. Believing she's the mutant saver, the X-Men fight to keep her safe, whereas Cap and the Avengers believe her to be a major threat and want the X-Men to hand her over in order to keep the planet safe. He invades the X-Men sanctuary of Utopia in an attempt to forcibly remove Hope and take her away. It's not the only time that he's had beef with the mutants either. In Age of X, an alternate universe in which Charles Xavier never created the X-Men team, the government goes around hunting mutants, sterilizing them, assaulting them, and restricting their civil liberties, all of which Cap is an enforcer of. It's another example of just one thing being altered in a timeline that would have pushed Cap just a little too far in the wrong direction. Alright, there we have it, friends. Are you bothered by any of these numbers on our list? Or Or are you a hardcore Captain America fan and think he can do no wrong? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know all of your thoughts. If you dug this video, spread that love, hit the like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more videos just like this one. In the meantime though, thanks for watching friends, I'll catch you all in the next one.